Hello and welcome to Quartzlight, your car brochure channel, and in today's episode, the Austin Maxi. Hello and welcome back, and if you're new to Quartzlight, we're a very small YouTube channel looking at car brochures from around the world for the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s, sometimes beyond that as well. But if you're interested in that, please consider subscribing. Anyway, back to today's episode for the Austin Maxi. And yes, I shouldn't really call it the Austin Maxi. This is a 79 brochure, so very much British Leyland. From around about 77 they dropped the Austin name, and the Austin name isn't featured on this brochure, so let's just call it the Maxi, I guess, to be correct. It was a very innovative car, actually, the Maxi. Hatchback, first launched in '69, making it the first British 5-door hatch. You know, at a time where people really weren't really wanting a hatch, so later in its life, late 70s, it was right there, and you know, suddenly this is what people really want, so very ahead of its time in that way. It also was launched with a 5-speed gearbox, which was very unusual. At least a decade before its time with 5-speed gearboxes. Yeah, it did have a few issues with the linkages for the gearbox, but here on Quartzlight we don't really try and dwell too much on that. Designer Alec Izagonis. And what else can we say about the Maxi? Well, let's have a look at the brochure and see what we can see. So here is the front cover of this. Like I say, 79 this particular brochure. Still featuring nice chrome bumpers. Caption here: what goes on top of most cars goes inside the Maxi. Really showing, you know, this practicality of this hatchback design. Not needing a roof rack and putting things on is really what it's trying to say. Kind of a weird little design, really, overall, wasn't it? With sort of like very strange dimensions, but a very practical car nevertheless. I would still advise they turn this little bit of a two-seater around the other way to get it in there. I don't think it'll fit widthways, but obviously they know best. But anyway, let's turn the brochure and have a look at the first page. So the first page really goes straight into the 1750. And that's because the 1500 was actually lost by this stage. Around about 79, late 79, they dropped the 1500, so we're straight away into the 1750, and that is the only engine choice at this time, really showing this practicality of this hatch design as much as they possibly can. Although by this stage the design is looking a little bit elderly, isn't it? You know, Ford went through all the phase, you know, the Coke bottle designs, which were all very, very fashionable. This looked very much like a 60s car in late 70s, but having, like I say, that advantage of being a hatchback, which certainly would have been a good seller at the time, and quite a roomy interior. We'll have a look at some of these pictures, and we'll have a look at some of these texts before moving on. There is a look at the interior, and obviously by late 70s this is becoming a little bit old-fashioned, isn't it? And it didn't have too much life. It did last till 81 with a bit of an update of the being called the Maxi 2 and some updates, but you know, still looking quite an elderly design compared to Vauxhall and Ford. We do have an automatic choice, and interestingly a 4-speed automatic, which was a little bit unusual for the time. And there we go, the 5-speed manual. Badge on the front, no Austin badge, it's just the Maxi, isn't it? And then finally a closer look at that hatch, making for a very practical car. You know, fold the seats down, you've got a lot of space. Typical hatchback versatility, which, like I say, was certainly a selling point. I mean, these were sold alongside the Austin Allegro. A lot of reasons why the Allegro didn't become a hatchback was because the Maxi was, weirdly. And of course the Morris Marina was your more traditional saloon, although at the start even the Maxi was considered they was going to do a saloon. But like I say, this is the design they stuck with, the hatch. So I'm not going to read all this brochure, but obviously you can pick bits out yourself. But it starts by saying versatility is the keynote of the good-looking Maxi 1750. Business, pleasure, holidays, shopping. It takes them all in its long-legged stride. Its lusty 1748cc engine providing ample power for every task, with the added bonus of commendable fuel economy. And then it talks about some little features, you know, being front wheel drive, etc, etc. Goes on to tell us the optional extra being that automatic transmission if you want. But let's move on and let's look at what came after this 1750. Actually, what I'm meaning to say is not what comes after the 1750, but what comes inside the 1750, because you know the next page is really featuring this interior and some interesting little features and some interesting little 70s pictures, which you know I always like in 70s brochures. So we'll zoom in on these seats firstly. The camera does tune in. And they do look quite comfortable seating, don't they? It's quite a basic looking interior, but nevertheless, them seats do look quite nice, I think. You know, typical, they're all wind down windows, of course. And yeah, it does look a little bit 70s, a little bit out of date, but still, it looks quite a pleasant, comfortable place to be. We also get this glove box, which doubles as a little table. Unusual what things we've got on here though. A Twix, looks like some maybe whiskey. I'm not sure what this little packet is. Is that cigarettes? I'm not quite sure what they are. So yeah, we had this little cup holder, I guess, although I wouldn't like to drive. I don't think that would stay on there too long. It's also featuring the practicality of a hatchback as well. If you were a market trader, you could get a lot in there. Or even if you're just buying a washing machine. But one of the interesting features or traits of the Maxi was this rear seat that didn't just fold back to increase the space in the back, it folded the other way into the boot as well to make this sort of a sleeping area. Very basic sleeping area, but quite a little clever use of those rear seats. Then we move up to a bit more luxury in the 1750 HL on this next page, so we'll have a look at that. It also gives us a glimpse at some of the fuel consumption figures as well, so we'll have a look at that as well. So here is the HL. It says in the text, which we'll look at them up, there's a host of additional features. In reality, there isn't too much. You do get a slightly different wheel trim, you can see, with this sort of like black band around there. And it possibly looks like you may even get a chrome tipped exhaust, although it doesn't mention that anywhere. But you do get tinted glass. Inside, it really doesn't look too much different. Apparently this steering wheel is now leather wrapped though, for a slightly nicer feel. And then we get another little glimpse of that useful hatchback load space. So it says here, here's the Maxi 1750 HL with a host of additional comfort and styling features that you and your family will really appreciate. So here we'll find out what them extras are. So from the outside, the 1750 HL is made distinctive by two black bars in the bright grille, front bumper underriders and black banded hubcaps and wheel trims. So really not too much extra on the outside. Inside the car, the changes are a much more dramatic tinted windows, reduced glare and heat on sunny days. A laminated tinted windscreen is an optional extra, as is automatic transmission. Seat facings are in a welcomed and hard-wearing velour. Easy to keep clean and even easier to live with. And the steering wheel rim is handsomely bound in genuine leather, a delight on cold mornings or in the heat of summer's day. So unusual, isn't it, that it's got velour trim, but then it's got a leather wrapped steering wheel. That's a strange mix. And then it goes on to tell us what the standard features on the Maxi is, just the normal model there as well. As promised, your fuel economy figures for the Maxi. And they're really nothing out of the ordinary, really, are they? And particularly if you look at the automatic, even at a constant 56, it's only getting 33.1. So I would certainly say go for the manual if you're able to do so, but nothing too special. Okay, and next up, a new actually, the 1750 HLS. So this is new to this brochure actually. So this was introduced in late 79. And it had a 91 brake horsepower, and this had twin carbs as well. So an interesting one, the HLS. Featured here in very 70s brown. Still those same sort of wheel trims there as that HL by the looks of it. And here is the picture of that engine. So let's look at the text to see exactly what extras we do get on this model. So I'll read a little bit of this. It says the 1750 HLS, it might be called the ultimate Maxi, for this superb motor car possesses all the inherent versatility and features which have made the Maxi concept so popular. Together with the added style and comfort of the 1750 HL, plus extra interior luxury, plus twin carburetor fueling to make the most of the 91 bhp engine. The Maxi 1750 HLS looks purposeful on its wide 165x13 radial ply tyres, and its looks are matched by performance, front wheel drive and hydrogas independent suspension, assuring you of a superb road holding and confident handling. Purposeful looks is further accentuated by matte black bars within the gleaming chrome grille surround, black wiper arms, black exterior mirror and black banded hubcaps and wheel trims. Protective underriders are fitted to the front bumper, and the exhaust tailpipe is finished with a handsome chrome trim. So it doesn't seem too much different from the HL, to be fair. Clearly this is a rather special Maxi. In town traffic you'll relish the car's tight turning circle, so handy for the slow speed manoeuvres and for parking in tight places. But it's on the open road that you'll really appreciate the extra power of the twin carburetor engine, the flexibility of the 5-speed gearbox and the extra margin of safety provided by those big servo assisted dual line brakes. So here we have the interior, nice looking seats. Interior does look a little bit nicer actually, with this more of a sort of walnut type finish as the camera tunes in, but there you go, it's rather a nicer interior finish I think, and you just kind of like get a glimpse of it on this page as well, so I think that certainly looks nicer. Okay, so it starts by saying the massive interior of the Maxi HLS is unashamedly opulent. The windscreen is of laminated tinted glass, which was optional on the HL. All the windows are tinted to keep out the worst of the sun's glare on sunny summer days. No glare problems either from the mellow matte finish burr walnut veneer fascia, hallmark of quality coachwork, nor from the leather clad steering wheel which combines the sure grip with all season comfort. These beautiful velour seat fascias, and they certainly do look nice, them velour seats, are as practical as they are elegant, and to complement their sumptuous appearance, the 1750 HLS has a wealth of other comfort features. The passenger sun visor, for example, is fitted with a useful vanity mirror, and there's a oh so handy companion box built into the front doors. By normal luxury saloon car standards, the Maxi 1750 HLS has few rivals, but when you take into account the incredible versatility of its unique design, the classic motor car sets and maintains standards of refinement, usefulness difficult to equal, let alone surpass. Like good wine, the Maxi has matured over the years, and there's a model that's exactly right for you. And then if we turn to the very back page now, we've got the specifications, so let's have a look at those now. So all the Maxis in this brochure at this time, we've got the 1750, like I said, the 15 has been dropped. The difference, of course, is with that HLS model. So if you want to look at further details, of course, by all means, pause the screen if you need to. It then talks about the fuel system, clutch, gearbox. Remember, a 5-speed Sycra mesh on all forward gears. So that's certainly a standout point for the Maxi. Front wheel drive, of course, as well. Suspension is a hydrogas unit. We've got brakes, which are discs at the front, drums at the back, and it looks like we've got different sizes of wheels and tyres depending if you get the base model, the HL or the HLS. And then we've got some information about the electrical, the instruments and the coach work. Like I say, if you do want to read all that, by all means do pause the screen. It also gives you, when you were looking at the coach work, the different models, you know, if you just get that base 1750, the HL or the HLS. And yeah, it does feature, you know, the HLS has got that burr walnut fascia and that laminated windscreen which stands it above the HL. Then we've got optional extras, metallic paint finish, tinted glass, laminated tinted windscreen and automatic transmission depending on which model you get, and a little bit of information there about the export markets. And even right at the bottom here, might as well leave the camera here, it does give you the date of this brochure right at the bottom there, November 1979. The middle section of this back page is covering the dimensions, which are really too difficult really to show on camera, but I'll just quickly flick through them. But I will say, I mean, the Maxi was quite an unusual, like long and wide car, wasn't it? The wheels were really at the very corners. And then it talks about the super cover, which, you know, Austin Morris and British Leyland used to always talk about for their roadside assistance. And then your little British Leyland Austin Morris little badge there at the bottom, and showing the publication number of this particular one, 3376/A. The Austin Maxi. I'm calling it the Austin Maxi again, aren't I? I'm going to stick with it at this stage, but there we go. An interesting car that really is not really talked about too much, but you know, came with that hatchback, came with that 5-speed box, so it really moved the game on for not just British manufacturers, but for everyone really. I think, like I say, it's not talked about, it's not acknowledged enough in my opinion. But if you've got any experiences or memories of the Austin Maxi, then please do share them in the comments. Always interesting to read. But for now, we'll say thank you so much for watching. We'll see you very soon. Take care. And don't forget to subscribe. Goodbye.